We did a wrist lock application where there was a palm push or grab in this orientation. The idea was to get the wrist to bend back a little bit and the little finger and edge of the hand to fold over to the center. That causes the pain that causes them to drop. And with all of these locks, it's primarily pain that gets you to throw. Don't think of them as submission locks, as in jiu-jitsu, as much as, for the most part, these are throws. They throw them into a position where you have more dominant fighting orientation. This is the same kind of a locking application from a wrist grab. I might posture this way. He grabs, and I come up underneath. Again, I can use cover from that hand. I come up underneath, palm to palm, grabbing on here for attachment. This hand is twisting the edge of the hand in towards him. Come up.
You're grasping challenge number 2.
Posture this way, up, go. And again, it's pain that makes them fall to the ground like that. In most situations, if somebody is going to attack you with a knife, you want to run, okay? That is going to save you the most. In fact, if you even see somebody approaching where you think there might be a knife or weapon involved, try to avoid the situation completely. Most schools teach hand versus weapons as a tradition of combatives, where, for example, you had samurai warriors on a battlefield, and they were charged to kill the enemies, even if their sword had broken or had fallen or they got disarmed, whatever. They still had to follow the orders to continue the battle and kill the enemy. There is very rarely today going to be situations where a person really has to engage somebody with a weapon. But in terms of martial arts, you want to address those scenarios. If the occasion occurs where you have to engage the person with a knife, there are certain tactics which are rarely still addressed in traditional schools that really you need to engage the knife attacker with. Usually the technique that is passed on within traditional martial arts schools is what has happened after some form of attachment has taken place to the attacker's weapon. If you ever spar with knives, wood knives, blunt metal knives, or whatever, you will be surprised if you do this on a consistent basis how often you will actually find yourself catching the opponent's arm. At least if you're trained to tap and catch in that proper capacity, as opposed to in a boxing scenario, catching somebody's punch out of the air.
I don't think so.
That is extremely rare. Catching a weapon arm is not as rare, and I think it's because with the knife or weapon involved, they tend to think it's the weapon that's going to hurt them. I can scoop around and get it without retraction. So they tend not to retract as well as the boxers. And with a knife, they can't. So, for example, I might cut, and he stops it, go ahead and block it in whatever fashion, and I cut around, and so I don't have the same kind of retraction as a boxer would have. And so some sort of attachment tends to take place before the technique actually engages.
Do that in the air?
In this sort of a scenario, I may have decided for whatever, this guy's taken over the plane, I got to engage him with a knife.
Slap.
And for whatever reason, I've decided to engage him. In this sort of a scenario, you have caught at some point this sort of a trap or an engagement. When that occurs, the attacker will either straighten his arm and try to slice through, or bend his arm and try to retract it back. One of those two things are going to happen. Either he's going to try to cut through, the arm straightens, or he's going to try to retract it back. So the two things you want to drill for are pull the arm. That's an arm bar. And I pin the wrist at my hip so that I'm not getting cut up by the knife.
Carry. Yeah, that's much better.
Or this time he retracts full motion. I'm fold it in this way. And he wants to drill some sensitivity with this sort of an engagement. He comes in, I get some engagement, and feel out just for a moment. If you can get these connections, where is he going with the knife? Right now, his arm's straight. I'm going to pin this way. Pin this near your hip so you're not getting hit. When you start doing this with a partner, you might start doing it and have them every once in a while try to fight you. Every once in a while try to bend the arm.
No, that's
so fight, you bend the arm. I go this way. We're looking at wrist lock applications. This is a wrist lock, gooseneck wrist lock application, which helps with the takedown and often with the disarm. So he comes down, bends the arm. I'm going to take it this way. I'm going to fold the wrist, and he lets go of the knife. Let's try that again. This time I'm going to use it to facilitate the takedown. He folds his wrist. I'm going to twist the wrist as well as the arm. Facilitate the takedown, and then compress to better facilitate the takedown. If that fails, taking this down, I'm not quite strong enough, I can't get the wrist. Just pin down his head with my knee, straighten up the arm, and break his elbow. This is my hips against his elbow. This knife represents one with a flat back, no razor edge, no serrating, and a razor edge on the front. If that's what you have, you can use that leverage to your advantage in disarms. So he comes in, he didn't bend his arm, so I went straight with that. Okay, if it has a flat edge, you can take it by the back edge, press the thumb if you like, just have him randomly stiff arm you or bend his arm back. Stiff arm or bend it back. Bend it back. A neck cut. Might even have him switch up what he's doing midstream. Okay, that time he started to go straight, he started to bend, go straight again. Okay. Learn some sensitivity for where they go so that you can apply it. Let's try one.
So come back with me. You
can randomly stiff arm me, bend it, or change whatever you're playing with midstream. It doesn't matter.
Slap down and
started stiff and then you get it back.